Hello, everyone. Welcome to the seventh episode of the Gooncast. Today's guest is JackTheRippa. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, welcome. This is the Gooncast featuring the Gooncast and me.
Of course, of course. The first question is, how are you doing, and how's life on Tubi been for you recently?
Oh man, it's been pretty decent so far. Not a whole lot has been going on. It's not like super hectic. The semester is winding down. I take a few classes every now and then.
Right.
I am building this really nice ocean base on 2B2T ever since the reset back in August of last year, and progress has been going good. There's not really much to say. Stop by my streams and see what all I'm doing. I'm making 6 copies, not copies as in like schematic copies, but sort of like homages to Space Falcon 1 all around my base. So they're going to be outside the perimeter of the ocean hole that I've made. And if you want to see what that looks like, you should give it a nice little like and a favorite and sub and all that.
Yeah, I will be linking your channel down in the description. You do post very good content.
Oh yeah.
I especially like your Rambly Bits stuff that you upload.
Oh, thank you.
It's very.
Yeah, I try to put some effort into that, but
it's very.
I mean, I need to like sort of make it somewhat like compartmentalized to where I can like do one a week, so that I've got some regular stuff coming out while I work on other things in the background.
Um, well, yeah. Do you have any future plans so far, or like anything planned for YouTube videos?
Channel plans or 2B plans?
I suppose both. We can start with 2B
Both.
plans.
Okay. For now, 2B2T is the brunt of the efforts that I've been pouring into the server. I've been making the ocean base. I'm going to keep making the ocean base. It's going to keep being absolutely the best thing I can do. I have plans to make a game, a redstone game, underneath the base itself. Up on the surface and outside, you'll have farms and all the pretty stuff. But deep down underneath it, there is a squid tank, and below that, there's this huge pocket that I've hollowed out recently in the last 4 months. And that's going to be this intricate redstone-based game, because for the first time in I don't know how long, redstone is not cucked on 2B2T. So you can actually do crazy cool stuff with redstone.
And that
So
is
there was...
that's with their plugins, correct? With how everything runs a lot smoother now.
think so. I think so. And so there was a game that came out at the end of 2023. There was a little super compact, extremely intricate game called Decked Out 2. And it was made by Tango Tech of the Hermitcraft series servers. And it was absolutely phenomenal. Probably the best Minecraft minigame I have ever seen. And while we can't exactly do to the same degree of stuff what we can do on 2B2T, because that requires some data pack magic we just don't have access to. While that is the case, I can still get away with doing some really nice stuff on 2B2T itself. So for now, I'm thinking I'm going to be doing that because I'm designing it on another server. I'm going to turn that into a schematic and then put it on 2B2T. And I have 2 friends who are helping me design, because they can actually, like I said, they can step up to my level and design, stuff that I'm happy with, things that I can approve of. And so that's going to be like an intricate little build in and of itself. And then my plan is, when it's done and bug tested, I'm going to wrangle the likes of Sal, Fit, Vincent. Rickson has been an up and coming, YouTuber on 2B2T. I'm going to try and get Rickson if I can. I don't know who else, but someone else, who's somewhat kind of up and coming 2B2T content creator. And I'm going to try and wrangle as many of them, not all at once, individually. I'm going to try and wrangle them, get them to my base. First of all, I'm going to try and get them to even join the server, because some of them haven't played in months. You know who that is. Right. And some of them have been playing as early as today, and so that won't be a problem. But getting them to my base, getting them to join, and then I'm going to make them play the game on 2B2T. It's going to be absolutely awesome.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to that.
I hope so.
And
I hope so.
Hopefully it isn't too difficult, just, getting everyone together as well.
Yeah, wrangling cats,
Yeah.
it is.
It's going to be a bit of like an outreach effort, I suppose.
If that's how it has to be, that's how it has to be. I'm not worried about it.
Very nice. And what was the other thing? Oh, yeah, and just yourself.
Oh, channel plans.
Oh, yeah, channel plans. That's what it was, yes.
Mostly, I just intend to keep making more, bite-sized type videos. The rambly bits are the thing I'm focusing on. I need to sort of focus afterward on episode 5 of Storytime with Jack. That is a sort of like a dual story. It's one episode, but it's like 2 stories back to back. 10 years ago, at about this time, we had a tent map on 2B2T, and nobody talks about it. Like, nobody is around from that time, which is why nobody talks about it. But it's a big part of 2B2T history because it's not something you hear much about. And I kind of know the inner ins and outs of it that I didn't know at that time because I was not able to get an answer 10 years ago from anyone who knew what was going on. Now the dust has settled and, the answers are out there. So I want to kind of get it all in one place and just show everybody, hey, yeah, we had a tent map once upon a time and we thought we were going to lose the old map. And it was a big deal. But after 4 months, we went back to the old map and everything was seemingly fixed. And there was just this big hanging mystery as to why we even needed to do that in the first place. What was the source of all this insane lag? And so I want to go into that and show off the hows and whys of that particular incident. And then there's another smaller story about how I was... there's something later on I want to get into with Space Valk 2 about how I shut down the end for like 9 months straight.
Oh, yeah.
And the why of why I did that, it starts in like 2013, 2014. So there's some seeds of the Space Valk stuff that I want to start laying the ground for. And then eventually I'm going to get into the Space Valk stuff. And yeah, I think that'll be quite fun.
Yeah, sounds very exciting. And also that kind of leads into the next question of just joining Tubi in 2012. Your thoughts over the years when you first joined, what it was like, the community and landscape of the server.
Oh man, how everything has changed and what all I think about it all. Oh boy. Well, for starters, 2012 it feels like an eternity ago, and it feels like just yesterday. It's very weird. Obviously the server has changed drastically to the point where it's not even the same server. It really just isn't. I can remember times when Housemaster himself would unironically just log into his main and just fart around at spawn. And then he would unceremoniously leave, and he would make fun of people. I got Housemaster to tour the lands one time, years and years ago. And he was cool with it. He called it all very autistic. And I was like, oh, that's a badge of honor. And like, that era of the server doesn't exist. We're never going to get whoever is in charge, if it is the original Housemaster or a group of people. I suspect it's a group of people. But whoever they are, whoever it is, doesn't matter. They're never going to show up again. They're never going to go and tour someone's base just for the hell of it. Yes. Those types of things are long gone. Long gone are the days of the imps where you'd have Pyrobite, placing infinite inner chests at spawn and people would mine them to make Wrath Outposts. Like, that shit's not... It's not really going to happen. You still have community events. You still have sort of up-and-coming people who are, sort of larger... people know who they are. They have a decent amount of notoriety. That's still sort of there, and there are still people doing things. But will any of it be remembered in server history? I don't know. And it just feels like, with the advent of so many people joining the server, because I think earlier this morning I looked at it right as I was getting on, and there was somewhere in the neighborhood of 700 and something people. So if you count, or if you don't count, rather, the queue, which is at least 300, it's probably 400. And so there are like 230 to 300 or so people online, so it's probably evenly split. Like, there's nearly 1,000 people, and this is just at this time of day. That doesn't count the middle of the night where the Europeans and the Asian people are playing. Like, there must be 1,000 to 1,100 regular players right now on the server. I can't remember that ever happening. I know for a fact there were at least 100 to 150 players regular when the server first started, and then obviously the numbers fell off because interest fell off. But I joined at a time where that interest was beginning to fall off. And for a long, long time, up until about 2016, there was just this low player count that we just took for granted. We all thought that it was going to kill the server, and it probably would have killed the server, in other time periods. And yet, because we stuck around and persisted, we are in a completely different style of 2B2T today than we've ever been in. It's so crazy. And to top it all off, as though that isn't wild enough, the server has never been more accessible, never been more stable, and never been more fun.
So yes,
It's
there's
bizarre.
the positives and negatives as well. Like
Yeah, exactly.
you want to go back to the small knit kind of low player count community at times.
Maybe, but like maybe not. I don't know. I
Yeah.
live both types.
It's like the trajectory of the server
Yeah.
pretty much. It's just
I imagine that if the server numbers ever do, which eventually they have to, right? Either Mojang will say, or rather Microsoft through Mojang will say, hey, we don't like your server because it's, it violates all the TOS of everything in existence. So we're going to kill you, shut you down, whatever. And so either that will be the end of 2B2T, or interest will just genuinely wane over the next decade, because I imagine at the rate it's going, interest will maintain for the next decade.
soon it's going to be 20,000 players trying to log in.
Well, no, I don't think that. I think it'll taper off. I think it'll taper off over the next 10 years. It will probably taper off. And when that happens, there probably won't be another big Russia invasion style thing that gets everybody to come back, I really don't think we're going to get that. We can coast on what we have for a very, very long time, but that there probably won't be this big, revival like there was, And so you're going to see those smaller numbers show back up, but it'll be the twilight years. And everybody will know it'll be the twilight years, and I think that'll kill it faster. Because when it was lax and relaxed, nobody knew anything. There were no guarantees of anything. Everybody just kind of lived in the moment. But now it's sort of like you're living with history behind you, There's a lot of history behind you. There's 12, 14 years of history. God damn, this server's almost 14 years old. That blows my mind. It'll be 14 in December. And Minecraft will be 15 in June. Like, that's mind-boggling. When the game was really young, you didn't have this big wall of history between you and the beginning of the server, or the beginning of the game, or the beginning of time. There's just, the game's been out for a year. Oh, the game's been out for 6 months. Oh, the game's been out for 2 years. Like, so what? That was nothing special. And so everyone took things here and now. We lived in the moment in those days. And not many people are really doing that. Everybody's doing something with a goal in mind, like me, I'm doing stuff with a goal in mind. I want to make this game. I want to make this awesome base and then show it off to everybody. Obviously the other content creators, they want to make their videos and make their thing about this or that subject and, show off this aspect of 2B2T that maybe nobody's been paying attention to, things of that nature. And it really changes the attitude you approach the server with. And I wouldn't mind going back as like a tourist to just sort of go back and go, wow, I can't believe things were this quaint. You guys should appreciate how quaint things are, because it's not going to stay this way. And at the same time, I can't really go back. I can't find myself enjoying older versions. I find myself wanting to move forward. And so yeah, that's really kind of my feelings on, how things are changing and going.
Do you have any? What was I going to say? Okay, so. Do you ever join other servers, like other anarchy servers, such as like Constantium, and just have that moment where you're like, okay, you guys...
I have.
And it's just that sense of community is there. It's not a bunch of kit shop spamming in chat, stuff like that.
So I've joined all the other tinier clones that have existed over the years. They don't really impress me. Constantium was the very first clone back in 2016. It's okay. Personally, I think the server's a little too boring. It's 2B2T as it was back in the day. It is that lax, slow 2B2T, and like the sheer number of names that I recognize from old 2B2T that are still there on Constantium, it's really quite surprising. But like, I just don't find it as fun or as interesting. Like, something about 2B2T, even though we used to originally quote Constantium as the shitty knockoff that didn't have the history. Well, now, 2016 is 8 years ago, so it has history now. Constantium's been through quite a lot. But at the same time, I still find the place boring. I just...
That doesn't have that appeal to it.
No, it doesn't have that. I can't bother to care. it just doesn't have, it's missing something. And I think the fact is it's missing the activity. Like, the activity on 2B2T, if even a small 15 to 20% of that went to Constantium, well, first of all, they would close the server and enable the whitelist again. But let's assume they don't do that, because they did that the last time, because everybody was fed up with 2B2T being too big, and so they poured over into Constantium, and then they whitelisted it. But let's assume for a sec they didn't. Constantium could potentially rival 2B2T, but I don't think the people who run Constantium want it to rival 2B2T. They want it to be its own thing. You know, they want it to be the retirement home for people from 2B2T. They are not interested in making it 2B2T Part 2, or the alternative to 2B2T, or the rival, or whatever. Like, they're more than happy to keep it as is.
And who knows, maybe in the next upcoming years, let's say 10 years from now,
Right.
if any of these servers are even still standing, you know? It's
Oh,
just,
yeah, 5B, 6A,
Yeah.
like, none of that shit's gonna last a year.
yeah, a
Or
lot of
gonna
them
last a
are
decade.
just just
By the
falling
time the
apart.
2020s are over, those will be gone. Like, and by the way, we're almost halfway through the 2020s.
Which is
Like,
insane.
wrap your head around that.
Especially with COVID, not to get too controversial or anything, which just feels like it kind of wasted a bunch
It
of
sucked
years.
up. It sucked up everyone's time. Just absolute black hole of time. It just sucked everything into oblivion. And it still feels like it's 2021, 2022.
Yeah,
something
you always
like
see those memes. It's like, oh,
it's not.
2021 was 3 years ago, and it's like, wait, what? It's like, what even
Yeah, I know.
happened? But,
An entire generation of people are going to feel that way for probably a good many years to come. They're going to be upset that, you know, it's not the year they feel like it should be, you know, because they were robbed a set amount of their time.
yeah, it definitely had an
It's just how
impact
it is.
just on the human psyche in a whole.
Definitely.
So, our next question here is, if you had any impact on the trajectory of the server, which way would you like to see it go? Do you enjoy the current state of the server nowadays?
I do enjoy the current state of the server now. It's funny, the most OP travel exploit I've seen in a long time has just gone literally the most public it's ever been. And until it's patched, like, I would like to keep stuff like that, you know, fun exploits that are not like, haha, I have your
too
coordinates, you
game-breaking,
can never make
yeah.
a base. You know, stuff that's just like, teehee, I can zoom around at like the speed of sound. Like, let me see if I can. Oh wait, you got to be in adventure mode on here.
See if I can-
Oh, we don't have tridents. No, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have tridents in the loadout. Oh well, I'm sure Turbine would hate us if we did that.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there isn't really too much of an anti-cheat on here. So even with the E-Fly... you can
Not
get-
really, no.
Yeah,
You
even
could
with-
trident fly pretty crazily, yeah. Did he update to Folia here? I don't know.
I'm not too sure.
Oh well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, and so yeah, running around with Trident Fly is the most fun I've had in a while. Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to see 2B2T continue to have. Nothing game breaking, nothing crash the server and level, you know, nothing of no com, Randar, none of that shit. Just, you can run really fast, you can go basically anywhere you want to go, have fun. Like, go out into the wild, hunt stashes, make your base, travel to your friend's base on the other side of the server. Crazy stuff like that. Like, that's fun. That's cool. Keep the server semi up to date. 120.5 is like right around the corner. I don't know that it's worth it to update to that version specifically, but like, you know, keeping the server as up to date as possible, that prevents shit like no com and the like. Just giving the server the TLC that it needs to keep it as good as it could be. That's the kind of stuff that I would like to see. That's the trajectory of the server that it needs to keep taking. Keep being good to the server.
Yeah,
That's really all I
Nothing
ask.
too game-breaking to where you just can't even
Right.
base anywhere.
Right,
Do you
because
feel-
that defeats half the point of the server.
Yeah, speaking of Randor, do you feel you were impacted any way with it, or... is
No,
it
not at all.
That's good to hear.
So I quit in 2020 for about 3 years. About 3 years. From about June, July 2020 up until, you know, August 2023. So that's about 3 years and some change. And at that time, like, we didn't even know about NOCOM at that time. And I was just of the opinion, 2B2T is so behind because it was 1.16 that was coming out at that time. And so I was like, 2B2T is just so far behind. This is not fun anymore. I want more up-to-date, more interesting stuff. So I quit for a while, expecting the server to not ever update again. And to my shock, it did. So as long as it keeps good and keeps interesting, I'm fine with that. Like, yeah, have it stay up to date. I'll stick around. Keep the bullshit to a minimum, and we can actually enjoy the server for what it is. Because a lot of the history people love is built on people being able to play the game somewhat legitimately without much fear. There does need to be a little bit of fear, but there can't be too much fear, It's like sunlight. You can't have too much sunlight, but you can't have too little sunlight. You gotta have just the right balance.
Well said, well said.
And so, yes, that's where we are, basically. And Randar, as silly as it sounds, NoCom lost me a base, and then a Turkish streamer who took a wrong turn lost me a base, and I was like, and then I tried to make a Space Falcon 4, and I was just like, this is boring, this is awful, until the server updates to something more meaningful, there's no point. I'm gone. And I basically just barely missed Randar. It's kind of funny, I do have a Randar story. In 2022, late 2022, I got invited to the Midnight Council. I made a video on it, and I got invited to the 2 Midnight Councils, one in 2022 and then one this last year. And it was fun. It was interesting. And at the first Midnight Council, we had some random dude whose name was just letters and numbers. I didn't even bother to remember it. It was just some random dude who shows up, and he was like, haha, I found your base. Didn't say a word, just left. And we were spooked, so we moved to a new place. And we just kind of kept that to ourselves. As it turns out, that was the Randar dev figuring it out on 2B2T.
Wow.
And we were touched by him directly, because I think he stole some items and then he left. And I was just like, what the hell? And that was what sort of was like, I was at the end of Midnight Council 2022. It was early 2023 now. And there was no idea about an update. Nothing seemed like it was going to happen. And I was just like, maybe I can come back for a little while. Maybe I should, maybe the server's not so bad. Maybe, okay, it's still on 112, but like, maybe it's fine to play. And then this dude shows up randomly, and then another dude shows up randomly. And it was, as it turns out, it was all Randar related. And we had just learned about NoCom about 6 months earlier. And I was like, okay, well, maybe the dust has settled. Maybe it's okay to play 2B2T. And then this happens again, and I'm like, no, it's really not worth it.
Yeah, you weren't too sure about it, no.
No, it's not worth coming back yet. There is not enough that has changed to really warrant coming back. And if we had continued staying on 112, I don't want to know what would have come out.
Yeah, the chaos.
Because I'm sure something super game-breaking would have.
Another thing I want to bring up is attachments, like to bases,
yes,
to any of that kind of caliber of stuff. Do you still feel a sense of attachment to the old bases that you made? Or is it kind of you build, you can just kind of forget about it?
I can't forget about any bases I make. The number of bases I made where I've not gotten to really finish, or I've only kind of sort of gotten to finish, but I don't know. Honestly, most bases I've made fall into the category of I didn't get to finish them. That, to me, it hurts, and I want to go back and do something about it. I want to adapt it, change it, fix it, something. I can't really, let it go. But also, I'm lazy, and I like to change and move on and do new things. So, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I do want to go back and finish and remake bases that I didn't get to finish. But at the same time, I don't really, I don't mind if they live in the past. I do cherish those memories and I keep them with me. I don't really I try to not abandon things that I did.
No.
But at the same time, you do have to move on.
Yeah, it's like living in the present and just focusing on what you're doing instead of going back to all
the cycle of death and rebirth. You live and you die, and you have to kind of just accept that to some degree.
What would you say your favorite aspect of Anarchy is on the subject of like on a spiritualistic note, I guess, of just the destruction and rebirth of many bases, stuff like that.
Oh man. You never know when something's going to happen. You never know when the next big thing is around the corner. And 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have known what the next big thing around the corner was, which, if you paid any attention, is the Trident Fly.
Yeah, and
like,
you seem
I
ecstatic about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I simultaneously love and I hate it when it's bad. The thing around the corner. Oh, shit, the nerds are at my base now. Why are they at my base? Ah, that's right. The next big thing around the corner was the most compromising coordinate exploit ever. Yeah, that's a pretty big thing. Like, you never know what's around the corner. It can be good, it can be bad, it can be, kind of neutral. You never know. Just never know. And the beauty of that is that when something unexpected occurs, your game plan and your mindset change. Who you were yesterday ceases to be, and you become the new you now, facing whatever this new threat or opportunity. Sometimes it's a threat, like it's a coordinate exploit. Sometimes it's an opportunity, like the Trident Fly, like the Bedrock. What is it? It's that end gateway that leads to the world border.
Yeah,
in the
I've
end.
just seen that video as well.
That's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Masons helped create that in some way. I don't know what the deal is with that, but I do remember hearing, or seeing rather, many years ago, there was a Psycraft, because I used to watch Il Mango and the Psycraft crew, and they made a Bedrock gateway in the end that took them to their world border. And they did that, quote, legitimately. But they did it by using flying machines, and somehow they loaded them.
Yeah, you have to like unload the chunk and then something with the generation of it, I believe.
And they got them all the way there, and that's what generated the end gateway that took them to the world border. And so I would be willing to bet that's kind of what paid off here, and that's how they got there. Can't know for sure, but yeah, that sounds about right.
Do you plan on making a video about that? Maybe checking it out for yourself, or?
If I do, it would be only on stream, because that's really just a gimmick, going to the world border. Like, who really cares? It's not that special. It's interesting if you want to go make an end base, but I still have my alt from 2020 out in the end. So if I want to make an end base, I'm already in a position to do that. I just need to pick a place and go there, basically.
If the opportunity arises, you can...
Well, I mean, the opportunity is like pretty much always going to be there.
Yeah, so I guess just the motivation behind it.
Yeah, like, I'm already invested in my ocean base. I don't really want to do another base in the end right now. I played, for those of you who aren't aware, when I quit in 2020, I focused on rebuilding and finishing Space Valk 3 in single player. And so I spent the last 3 years up until earlier in, I believe it was January was when it was either January or December is when I did my last Space Valk 3 stream. And I stopped building on the place altogether because I got so tired of the end. I got so tired of looking at the void. I got so tired of looking at just blank quartz and nothingness as far as the eye could see. And it got to the point where I was just so sick of it, I wanted to do something completely different.
Do you believe for your next one that you do end up making, will it be a different color palette at least, or?
Yes, definitely. I've already got a palette in mind. I was going to do it or use that for Space Valk 4, and I got bored and quit that. So Space Valk 4 never really took off. And so if I do something like that, I will probably use that color palette.
I'm at a Space Valk 3 right now, so.
Oh wow.
You have been here recently on the server, haven't you?
Yes. I went back in February I went back in February, and I went around for like an entire month on various streams, visiting the old bases that I had been at. And this was one of them, obviously. I visited both versions, both the second and the third site. And I even visited the first site, which is completely and totally blank. Nothing was there.
And is it true that someone is kind of rebuilding this one here, or is it from which?
I don't know. I've heard of people trying to. I know there's a group who wants to do it on 6A or 6B or 6 whatever it is. More power to you. I don't really care. I've moved past this. Like, I'm done with this. I've even released the world download that I made that has all the city and stuff on it that I made over the last 3 years. Like, that's behind me now. I'm moving on.
The scale is just absolutely insane as well.
Yes, I wanted it to be as big as I could possibly muster. It was a it's a 1 kilometer large base.
Did you use any bots like Ligmatica, any of that kind of nature?
I used Schematica and Baritone to help fill in the disk.
Yeah, because just placing this block by block would be a task in itself, you know?
Yeah, I had to automate it. I had to figure out a way to get it automated as much as possible because this was just so mind-numbing. I remember I had just gone back to school 2019, and I was taking some classes, and then we, about a year later, went into quarantine. And so I'm sitting there on the stupid Zoom calls because everybody went, to Zoom. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I'm doing my stuff. Yes, I'm doing that. And then, just out of one corner of my eye, keeping tabs of what's going on in class, and out of the other corner, I'm baritoning and getting as much of this done as possible.
That's the real grind right there.
It was. It was such a grind.
So
I'm lucky. What was it? It was the donkey dupe. That was where you could duplicate with the entity dismounting. I'm so lucky that was viable at that time, because that's how I duplicated up all the items I was going to use to make this. Because without that, I lost my stash to the nerds in 2019. So without that, this place wouldn't have been possible.
That was just absolutely insane. Just so I'll check it out, here and there.
This is the power of 1 kilometer of space.
It's
1,007 from tip to tip.
And you don't really have to worry too much about landscaping anything either, so it's just build as you go.
Nothing's in the way. You can just build on top of the stupid islands.
So let's see. My next question I have here is friends made along the way. Do you remember your first friends made on the server?
Oh yeah, definitely. Snacky North was like the first person I really connected with. I was traveling on the Nether Roof back when you could do that, and he was spamming Edgar Allan Poe poems in chat. And he was remarking at how little culture everybody had, and I was like, oh my god, I love Edgar Allan Poe's poems. And we bonded over that, and then he switched immediately from Edgar Allan Poe to My Immortal. And I just went, oh my god, that's hilarious. I love this guy. Who are you? And we just started talking after that, and we kept in touch. And then eventually his base got griefed, and he was like, Jack, I want to base with you, man. I lost everything. I need to start over. And I'm like, all right, fine. And he joined me. And then about a month later, the stupid Nether Roof was shut down forever. So it's a really good idea he did when he did, because he wouldn't have had the chance otherwise.
Are you still
in touch with him? And then he brought like 3 or 4 of his friends with him, and I made friends with all of them, and they stuck around in my group for years, till the Russia War.
Was that a big falling out between the group, or?
No, everybody went their own separate ways, more or less. With the exception of Tristan, that was it. And we didn't make friends with Tristan right then and there. We made friends with him later. But, it was just, everybody had moved on from Minecraft, more or less, me with the lone exception. And they just went on to different parts of their lives. I still have them all on Discord. I could contact them right now. But we all haven't really talked because, you just find out, especially as you get older, you find out you have friends, but only because you have a common interest. That common interest is what binds you together, and if you lose it, it's just kind of the end of it. And, it's just how it is.
Yeah, it's like everyone branches off to also do their own thing as well.
Right.
Let's see. A huge question, which might be a bit controversial, but are the rumors true that you are a house master? Yo, you're caught, man.
No, I was drinking at the time you said that. I nearly spat out my water. No, I'm not house master. I would love to run this server. You better believe I would run this server well. I would be the best damn admin this place has ever seen. But
what would be your first
that's
change?
Never gonna happen.
What would be your first change? What would you do?
I probably wouldn't change anything. I like it as it is. The server has to make money because it's absurdly huge now, so it has to generate income. I wouldn't mind being paid for my work, because you better believe a housemaster position would be an almost around the clock job. I would still play, and I would be in survival. I would still do what I'm doing now. I would still stream. I would try to keep the server running. Obviously, I wouldn't want it to fall apart. I would definitely make it a priority to keep things up to date and as cutting edge as possible, so that, fun exploits, I wouldn't be concerned with them. I would allow fun exploits to get around for a while. Obviously, you would have anti-cheat like Grim, No Cheat Plus, Spartan, whatever other anti-cheats are out there. They patch those things, and I would update to whatever patches they would have. So I would tell people, when a dupe comes out, when an exploit happens, I would tell them, okay, you all have your fun with it. When the newest version of whatever shows up in 24 hours, I'm going to give you all fair warning, and we're going to update to it, and then the patch will go into effect. Unlike House, where it's all, no fun. His mentality for the longest time was no fun allowed, and it sucks. And I would let people get away with duping. I'd be like, okay, you can have your fun. This is how you do the dupe. Enjoy.
But give everyone an equal opportunity.
I wouldn't tell people people's cords. I wouldn't go around griefing everyone. No, I would stick to myself, just like I do. But, all good times would have to come to an end, and, things would have to be patched, and we would keep the server running. And it would be amazing.
Do you feel House is a little too inactive at the moment? Or just kind of like that shadow figure? Or
he's just inactive enough right now. Because when he said, and he said many, many, many things over the years, like, you have to understand, I've been listening to this man promise empty promises for about 12 years. And the worst of it was in that 2020 to 2023 time period, where every April, instead of an April 1st event, what was it? It was a demo, test server, 20, what was it? It was 1.16, then it was going to be 1.17, then 1.17 turned into 1.18, and so on and so forth, and it just never happened. And I just kept going, well, more empty promises. And then he made what seemed to be the biggest empty promise I had ever heard, which is, not only are we updating to 1.19 next week, because remember, this was early August, it will allow future updates to happen more easily. And I'm like, I will believe that when I see it, you motherfucker. I do not believe you at all. And here we are, not even about a little bit more than half a year later, we've updated again. I thought for sure we wouldn't get another update past 1.19 for at least a year. And it was total radio silence about 120. And I was just like, it'll happen probably. But it'll happen in like a year or two. Or we may skip it and go to 121. Who knows, right? And yet, no. I don't think he is super inactive. He's just kind of sort of inactive. And for now, that's fine, because there are no newest versions to update to. So for now, who cares? But we'll see. We'll see. He may go into hibernation for another 4 or 5 years. Who really knows?
He's gotta support his addictions one way or another. It's always the meme of server admins just, having a coke habit. So.
Yeah, the coke habit thing, yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's that, even though I know it's really not. Like, he's never been a coke person as far as I know.
Yeah,
that's always been a meme. I always have to clarify, that's always been just a meme. Like, there are people out there who will genuinely believe he's a coke addict, so, like, you kind of have to clarify that for them. But that said, like, honestly, I feel like if he cared about Minecraft and actually played, this would be a really great server. But he stopped caring about Minecraft a very long time ago.
It's also just the amount of time that the server's been running, so of course that, attraction to it is going to fade off just a little bit at least.
Right. He probably has his own life he wants to lead in the background, and, who can blame him? We all have a life outside of Minecraft. And you just sort of, you have to compartmentalize your time. Devote your time to here, devote your time to there, et cetera, et cetera. But, like, this is more or less his livelihood, as far as I can tell. As much money as this place must make for him, it has to be, right? So, at the very least, try to make it the most amazing server ever. That's what I would do. That's my mentality. If I'm living off of this thing and I'm making a lot of money, you better believe I'm going to make this server the biggest, best, and baddest server ever.
Yeah, you're gonna want to go all in on just maximizing, server everything pretty much. All right, let's see.
And yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it would be okay if I ran the place. It wouldn't fall apart. I know that.
Sounds like something Housemaster would say.
Well, I don't know. I've never talked to Housemaster, so I couldn't tell you.
All right. Next question here. Well, I already covered the exploits. So next one, it would be your favorite year playing on 2B, and if you could time travel, which moment would you go back to?
Oh, 2015, definitely. It was the last really fun year where there were no stakes. There was only one back-breaking exploit that was tell at A, and that was more or less it. We had a lot of fun. There were a lot of really cool bases made in 2015. And if I had to go back and do it all over again, I know how to do it infinitely better, a million times better. Space Valk 1 would not have been found until 2016, at the very least. I would know about all the new future stuff coming, so I'd be able to plan for it. I would know about, silly things that are about to happen, things of that nature. Like, there's so much I'd be able to get away with doing. Space Valk 1 would probably have ended up looking more like Space Valk 3 if I could do it all over again. And it would be way farther out. I would know about the tell at A exploit, and I would be way more cautious about how and why I would be doing things.
And I don't know what the tell at A exploit is. What was that again?
Oh boy. Okay, so when you whisper to someone, a long time ago, and I think Minecraft changed this structure. So in commands, when you're executing a command over an area, what you can do is you do, so let's see now, /W whisper, so Goon podcast, okay. And then before the name, I believe, you could specify a range. So it would be /tell or /whisper. Actually, I think it only worked with tell, because tell is the vanilla private message feature. I think eventually whisper was incorporated into it. And so it was tell at A, and then you would put in brackets after the at A your X, your Y, and your Z coordinates you wish to specify. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I have to go feed my cats. I will be right back.
I'll get it.
Yeah, so we'll just pause here for a second.
I'll just cut this area out.
Okay, let me start over. Okay, so the tell at A exploit. So what you could do back in the day, when you whispered a message to someone, you could specify at A. So you could whisper a message at A, which is at everybody. That was curtailed pretty quickly. But whispering a message, and then after the at A, you could put in brackets an X, Y, and Z range. What that would do is you would whisper that message to anyone within that coordinate range from 0, 0. Oh. So if you whisper, tell at A, and the message didn't matter. You just needed to send them a message. And so you specify 1 million, 64, 1 million. So anyone within a million of spawn is going to receive that message. Instantly, whoever you hit, you can then start whittling down the ranges, and within 2 to 3 messages, they could pinpoint your coordinates with pretty pinpoint accuracy. It was devastating, and it had the server shut down for at least a week.
Wow!
In order to patch, because it was a coordinate exploit that could compromise literally everything.
And it was just a matter of time and pinpointing the location exactly and all that kind of stuff.
No way to hide from it.
Wow.
That was the no-com back in the day, but it lasted for such a short time, and not that many bases were compromised by it, that it was basically totally forgotten by the time of the Russia War.
And there was a quick reaction time to fix it as well.
Well, yeah, one of the guys who was kind of up on things, he helped resolve that temp map in 2014 that I talked about. His name was James Russells. And James Russells got wind of the Tell@A exploit and was basically telling House over Steam, shut the server down, this is big, this is bad. And so House did, and then they fixed it, and that was the end of it.
All right, let's see here. Next question. Your thoughts on the 2B economy and the positives or negatives of it?
The 2B2T economy, I mean, I guess it's an economy. It is an economy in, like, kind of name only.
Yeah.
Because, like, you're not buying real goods and services. You're really kind of, it's almost pay to win-esque in a way, but I don't know. It's very weird. Like, 2B2T is very unique in this regard. On other servers where you have an economy, it's server backed. You know, you're getting your items from the server itself through some sort of a money plugin or something like that.
Yeah.
And you're not really, like, you're not buying from another person, and you're not exchanging real world money unless it's a donation to the server. And so, like, it's like a loose real world economy in a way, but it's bizarre. The 2B2T economy is its own very unique niche. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, especially just
I don't know how to qualify it.
Methods of delivering goods and all that kind of stuff as well.
It's very weird. Like, I can't really put a good label on it.
Yeah. Are you aware of, like, what the prices would be like from these kit shops? Is it? I'm guessing it's like pennies on the dollar, but
yeah, I've seen a few figures. It's pathetic. Items still have, like, I'll admit, items shouldn't have any value at all. You shouldn't be buying money or buying blocks from people,
yeah.
like, at all. That's dumb. Don't do that. But, like, if you had to buy stuff from a shop, I guess it's best if your pennies on the dollar, as opposed to, you know, blocks on the dollar.
No.
Like, imagine if five bucks only got you a shulker, and that's it. Like, yikes. That's insanity. And there would still be people who pay those prices, don't get me wrong. But, like, part of what was so fun about the 1.19 update before everything was reset was that those people were going to get absolutely owned by Housemaster. And I was laughing my ass off at that. And, of course, everybody revolted and got upset, and, you know, what can you do? But for the moment that it seemed like this was how things were going to be and you were all just going to have to deal with it, it was the funniest bit of drama I had ever seen on 2B2T. Because don't you know the shop owners were squealing the loudest? Because their inventories were severely reduced, and all they could do was just... I mean, they could revolt, but what if that hadn't worked, you know?
Yeah, it really did sound like a shockwave through the community. Probably one of the most controversial updates.
It was, yeah. But at the same time, I get why, and that's fine. I would have preferred things stay this way, because, like, I had already lost mostly everything. There was very little left over from 2020 that I still had on me back at the time of the reset. So, like, even when all the items were cucked for that 1 week period that we had 1.19, but before the reset, like, I didn't really have anything on my person anyway, you know? I lost a few items because House hit everybody unilaterally, but it wasn't, like, the end of the world. And so I just kept living as though, because I didn't have a dupe stash, I didn't have anything, I didn't want to get a dupe stash from anyone. So I just kept living legitimately ever since, after the reset. And so I just went about building my base, and everything you've seen on stream is legitimate. Like, I've not used a dupe stash to get any of that, any of those buildings or anything like that. Like, I've made it all. And it's still possible. Like, it's actually more possible now, because you can make redstone farms. You couldn't do that in 1.12. It's now possible to live more legitimately than ever and thrive. You can make an amazing base and be okay.
Yeah, it's impressing, and then also there's that bit of motivation you get just from grinding everything out instead of paying for whatever and doing it the kind of easier way. But it's like, gotta look at it from the perspective of wanting to play because you can and stuff like that, compared to just, you know what I'm getting to, just it has that extra bit of grindiness to it, which can be enjoyable.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I just feel like I don't think the reset should have happened because a lot of people had been around since about the Russia war, or maybe a little after, but probably most of the people by that time were there since COVID, since the pandemic. And they really hadn't felt the cock of Housemaster crawl up their backside yet. And that's a bit of a rite of passage on 2B2T. I'll never forget the little apology message that he wrote, and he put it on the website. I'm sorry for afflicting you all with this change. And meanwhile, I've been afflicted with Housemaster's changes for like a decade. You all deserve to have at least a little bit of struggle because Housemaster changed your items or erased your items or whatever. I had my first base literally erased by Housemaster. I was living in the end, and he shuts down the end for a year. And that base and that end map are gone. They don't exist. An entire year from when the backdoor of 2011 happened up until about June, July of 2012, there was an entire end map that was made in that 6-month period that just doesn't exist anymore. There are elements of 2B2T history that were literally erased by Housemaster. And that shit's not coming back.
Yeah, that's pretty
And
insane.
at a certain point, you just have to accept that and move on. And so having this newer crop of players learn the hard way, Housemaster's wrath is very real. And you will face it one day. He will make a change that will screw you over at some point. You just get used to it.
And he's unforgiving about it.
Yeah, he's unforgiving and he doesn't care. I kind of like that. I don't like it when it happens to me, but I do want to at least have everybody be aware, hey, you can lose things, and House will just occasionally screw you over, and that sucks.
Do you feel he panders to any player at all, or is it mainly just...
He used to pander to the nerds, and that was what made everybody leave in 2016. That was why we were all so upset right before the Russia war. He was pandering to one group over everyone else. It was one thing when it was an impartiality of sorts. Whether he was truly impartial or not, we don't really know, but at least when it wasn't out in the open, that was fine. But Housemaster, or rather George Bush 420, a friend of Housemaster's, whoever that was, he did apparently give the nerds preferential treatment. And that's haram. That should never happen. At least when House erased everyone's items were erased, or altered, or reduced, or whatever. No one won out in that. And you know what? I'll take that. That's funny. But
it's equal for all, pretty much.
Right. But if someone has their thumb on the scale, and they have an admin and or, the owner's ear, and they can get away with doing stuff. Like there were allegations about the Spawn Nations being able to get away with doing stuff. That's a problem. That shouldn't exist. So I don't like that, but what can you do?
Let's see. So my next segment, this one's a bit new just to the channel because you're not really a Constantium player, but this is just Constantium player-based questions. So are you ready for this?
Sure.
So Constantium player InfDev asks, what happened to the Constantium Chronicles episode 3? He remembers watching it 7 months ago, but now the episode is impossible to watch.
Oh, I had to private it. I think we were afraid of it exposing our coordinates or something.
Oh, yeah.
And at that time, I was still playing Constantium. Remember, there was just freshly a 1.19 update on Constantium only. But 2B2T didn't look like it was going to move at all. We didn't get word of a 2B2T update until literally the week or two before it happened. And so, while I was still okay with playing Constantium, as I said, the server got boring. And so I was told to private it by Alpha Computer simply because if it exposed our coordinates while we were still playing there, we didn't want to lose the place that we had been working hard on. But at the same time, we'd grown so bored of the place, we didn't really want to play there. So, I guess I can unprivate it now. It doesn't really, matter anymore.
Yeah, your priorities are mainly
my
2D
priority
at the
is different,
moment.
so it
Yeah.
just doesn't matter.
It did-
Also, I didn't think anyone cared about the Constantium Chronicles. It was very kind of like not high end. Nobody was like jumping for joy for it. And when that happens to a series, you do end up having to shelve it. And that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So, yeah, that's kind of why I stopped doing Constantium. It just wasn't worth it.
wasn't too much of a community around it, I suppose.
Right, yeah.
All right, so this one might be a little spicy.
Let me put it on public. There we go. Okay, well, there you go. InfDev, your episode 3 is public again.
Woo, let's go. But all right, a question from a former 2B player, Tristan asks, "Why do you hate him?" This, like I said,
because he betrayed us, and he basically is responsible for like one of the darkest times in 2B2T history. Like, you've done nothing but awful stuff, man.
would you still say there's a bit of that hate meant there for him, or just?
I mean, hate is a strong word. I dislike it.
Yeah,
I don't hate.
I mean, overall, it is just a block game, but
Right, but I mean, he's gone out of his way to make both me and many other people's experiences miserable. People aren't going to like you for that.
True. All right.
Like, the lands was sold out by Tristan.
He actually sold them, as in like put a price on it?
No, sold out figuratively.
Okay.
Figuratively, not literally.
Uh,
But even if he had figuratively or literally done it, fuck, man. Like, I'm not going to enjoy that. I'm not going to be happy.
yeah, like the
if
point
you
still
sell me out,
stands, yeah, where it's just
if you sell me out, if you help my enemies destroy me or destroy my stuff, like, I'm not going to want anything to do with you by that point. Should that surprise anyone?
should not, no.
If you stab people in the back, they don't want to be your friend
it's
anymore.
like-
Wow, what a shock.
The repercussions are gonna be there, where it's like whether it's disliking or just overall lack of trust ever again, pretty much.
Right. Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
And so
Oh.
it just gets to a point where you have to wonder, like, and I'm sure with Tristan's memory and his attitude, he'll probably try to revision this in some way. I'm not going to bother explaining it again. Like, it is what it is. Don't betray me. Don't ruin my stuff for your own amusement. Like, that's it. I expect people to grief and destroy stuff, okay? But if you're in the friend group, help the friend group and be a friend. Don't be an asshole who hangs around for their own benefit until it's no longer a benefit, and then you sell us out.
Very,
like,
yeah,
It's really fucking silly.
very.
But it's also really simple and straightforward. Like, be a friend.
You have anything else you want to add on to that, or I think that's a
Oh,
good?
no, that's
okay,
it,
okay.
that's
But all right, next question. A bit of a lighten up the mood a bit. But Constantium player Gompit asks, "What is your greatest achievement on Constantium, and why do you think this is your greatest achievement here?"
I've never had an achievement.
If there is,
I haven't had anything, man. I made one base on Constantium. I can count the number of times I've joined Constantium on maybe 2 hands.
All right, fair enough.
That's it. Like, I don't have an achievement of any kind.
Okay. And then Jalapeno 690 asks, "Why do you simp for Pete Larson?"
Okay. That took me a sec. I don't simp for Fit. I don't think the treatment he's gotten is the most fair, but also he and I go way back. So I've known him a long time. Like, I'm not going to be harsh on someone I've known for a long time. And Fit has always been a cool guy. Admittedly, he's had to discard his original self, for the YouTube persona. And that's unfortunate. But, like, I get it. He's made a really killer living off of 2B2T. And, if anyone was able to do it, like, they probably should have.
Yeah, I believe.
And if it hadn't been him, someone else would have.
Yeah, I believe he was probably the best person to do it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that too.
Because.
So, like, I'm not going to say he's done nothing wrong. Like, I've said Fit did nothing wrong. Like, I meant that as a meme the last time. I think I said that on the Anarchy podcast or something a long, long time ago. That was really more of a meme, and I was just trying to, like, rile people up. It's not like Fit is, you know, blameless. He's not done nothing wrong. Like, everybody's done something wrong. At the end of the day, it's just try to be as objective about what people do and why people do it. You know, don't try to be blinded by hate or other people's opinions. Form your own opinions. You know, do your own research, learn about why things are the way they are. You know, things don't happen for no reason. You know, things happen because people are faced with certain challenges in their lives. They're faced with, you know, this or that pressures or problems, and they do what they can. You know, we're all just trying to make it in this world.
Gotta adapt.
And that's how it is.
Certain things as well.
Yeah.
All right. So next one, player Odeer asks, "Do you have any regrets?"
Oh yeah, plenty. I regret not being more proactive in early 2021 and trying to make the content that I'm making now at that time. Because if I had been, I'd be fine. I regret kind of quitting this server in 2020, but at the same time, I know it would have just been painful because Randar and more no-com stuff would have happened. So I don't know, maybe quitting in 2020 was ultimately for the best, but then you can't know, you know, what you didn't do.
Yeah, you can always look back and see.
Yeah. You can always wonder and guess how things might have gone, but you can never truly know how things would have gone. I do regret there being, like, I regret trusting some people who I should have kind of known better for. For example, I probably shouldn't have trusted people who were in Imps group, because people at the Imps group, people like Tristan was one of them. They were always kind of like to themselves and not really team players. They were not fun to be around sometimes. It just was what it was. Like, I regret kind of not being more careful with who I trust back in the day. You can trust people, even though the tagline of the server says trust no one. You can trust people. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to be very careful who you trust and why. And I just feel like, yeah, I probably should have been more careful about that. And, I don't know, those are just a few that pop into my mind. Right off
and
the
it
bat.
always is, you know, you live and you learn. It's like,
Yeah.
if you didn't have those
Right.
experiences, you could have fallen
You're going to have
victim.
failures. That you
Yeah,
learn.
you're gonna fall victim to it either at some point, you know.
Right. And, well, such is life.
Such is life. You have anything you would like to wrap this up with? And I do want to just say thank you for joining me on this episode today.
Honestly, just the, more attention on the stuff that I'm making, guys. Like, go watch the story time with Jax when those come out. Go watch my Rambly bits. I plan on releasing those older videos from 2016.
Nice.
I had to private a lot of those way back when, and then I deleted them. Vincent got copyright struck on, or no, it was a community strike. It wasn't copyright, it was community strike. And those are more dire. That's when you do really bad and YouTube is like, no. And they struck him and he lost his monetization.
Ooh.
And this was in 2022 sometime. And that video was privated. And I was like, well, holy shit, all of my 2B2T stuff has some pretty racy stuff on it, because, it was 2016. Like, if that's going to risk me, my monetization, I've got to strike while the iron's hot and prevent that from happening. So I deleted all those videos off my channel. And to this day, I still got people asking me where those went. And so I'm going to re-upload them in a slightly, sadly, they have to be more censored, because it's just how YouTube is.
Edit in some bleeps here and there.
Right. And so I'm going to release those in an uncensored version for the members, for membership stuff. So, as an incentive to join the memberships on my YouTube channel, as well as the slightly doctored versions on the main part. And I'm gonna release those back into the wild and just give people a sort of look into the Russia war and how things were. And then I'm gonna get back to rambling about life and all sorts of other fun things. And obviously I'm gonna be making the new episode Storytime with Jack, episode 5 is the next one. Stuff like that. apart from that, keep with me. We're going to do more crazy 2B2T stuff. That Redstone game is coming soon. It'll be called Escape the Jack Rooms, sort of a pun on Escape the Back Rooms.
Very excited.
It's going to be Backrooms themed, so look forward to it. And yeah, I think that's going to be really cool.
Very nice. And yeah, like I said earlier in the video, I'm gonna link your channel down in the description. I know I'm just like a 50 subscriber channel, but who knows? But all right, man. It was great having you. I'm gonna end it right.
Yeah, it's great having you too.
All right.
I enjoy talking to people and doing interviews. So anyone else who wants to do an interview, I'll probably do it.
All right. Appreciate it, man.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Y'all take care.
See you.